G'day guys, welcome back to another video. So as we said last week, we're going to do a top 10 tips, tricks and hacks on caravan life. There is a lot of these videos out there already, I know that, but a lot we've watched are pretty misleading, I feel, as in saying what you need and your must-haves for caravanning, and so many say like floor mats and muck mats and microfiber towels and all this, and I don't think they're anything to do with must-haves for caravanning.
Yeah, they're not, put it this way, they're not going to save you time or
make it easier.
Yeah.
But this is our version of top 10 tips and tricks.
Yes.
And what we feel makes life so much easier, makes things more achievable and that sort of stuff.
That are beneficial to your caravanning life.
Actual
or your
caravanning,
yeah.
So we'll start out, first thing is drinking water hoses. So we use drinking water hose. You don't have to. If you don't mind the taste of your crappy hoses, then go for it. That doesn't matter. The main thing is carry heaps. So we basically carry a 10 meter, which is this one here.
Oh, that is dribbling everywhere.
Dribbling everywhere. I don't even know what brand that is. I think that one's Chemek. Don't know. Who cares?
No markings on it,
but yeah, we carry a 10 meter and a 20 meter. There is so many times we have had to use both and plug them together. Like, it is so many times you can't imagine.
Yeah.
And if we didn't have both, then we literally wouldn't reach water points, we wouldn't reach taps, all that sort of stuff. Even here right now, as you can see, the hoses are run from the caravan. We're using the 20 meter hose to hook up to fill our tanks rather than having to fill the Jeep tanks and relay the water and that sort of stuff. Like I said, brand on hose, who cares? For us, as long as it's drinking water hose, we don't use filters and all that sort of stuff. You might want to, that's fine. We've never been sick from water, and I don't think we ever will be. We expose ourselves to everything.
Yep.
But yeah, that's mainly the thing, is carry as much hose as you can fit, basically. I don't think we've ever needed more than the 30.
No, I think we've always been safe with the 2. Like, if the 20 doesn't do it, we hook the 10 onto it, and we've always been able to reach.
Any more than that, and you know, if you can fit it, go for it. But I don't. We haven't validated buying another hose yet. We've never had to warrant that. But that's number one, and I think that is a must-have. Is have 2 hoses, 30-40 meters all up, and you'll be set to get water anywhere.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to number 2 is grey water hoses, which we have here. Now, for years, we were using the thick, hard poly plastic
with the wire.
rubber with the wire in it, grey water hose that Rotate Marine, BCF, all of them sell.
Yeah.
It's a great product for 6-8 months, but being we go south for winter, as soon as that stuff gets cold and a little bit old, it's really brittle and it won't even bend, it just snaps. Yes. So we weren't even getting 12 months out of a, you know, $50-$60 worth of grey water hose. So what, a year and a half ago now, we went to this stuff. So this is washing machine hose from Bunnings, and we'll put the snippet in here.
Yeah.
From memory, it was like 15 bucks for the whole roll. Now, the top tip I think with grey water hose is don't carry it in those mesh bags and roll it up and deal with it all the time. I've cut, you'll see a lot of people probably starting to do it, cut a piece of PVC like poly pipe that goes the width of the van. Just 100mm poly pipe, and it fits 4 of these cut to length at 2.5 meters in it. So what's that give you? 10 meters of grey hose, and then you just, because so many places we've been to, if you go to a van park, the grey pit will be right at the back of your van. You'll see people with 20 meters of grey hose coiled up because it's right there. So if you go somewhere and the pit's next to you, you just put one out. Or if you're like here, they want the grey water out, so you just put one hose out. Yeah. Some places you might use 2, you might use 3, you know. We've never even used all of them.
No, I don't think so. Plus, I'd just like to add, they dry out really well in these short pieces, and laid out straight like that, so you don't, like, I remember we used to sort of get a little bit of a smell in that bag rolled up, whereas like this laid out, they dry up and they don't have any odor whatsoever. Yeah.
So when I put the poly pipe in, I drill little holes in the bottom of the poly pipe, so that way any grey water, like any contaminated water, can drip out. Yep. And it's aired, it's vented really well. But yeah, it just sort of makes it so much easier just to grab out one length, you just slide it out, hook it up, when I go into hooking up. So where's the main one?
That's one.
We run the cam lock fittings, so that's these ones here. They're just from Bunnings. They do plastic ones, aluminium ones, and it just makes it flawless to clip straight up, and it goes straight into the end on the washing machine hose, slides in, no stuffing around. As for linking these together, if you want to use multiple, this here is just 25mm plastic, what's it?
Just that clear rubber tube.
Clear plastic
poly
tubing from Bunnings. You can buy it by the meter, or you can buy short sections. So I just cut into pieces. This end slid in, chuck a zip tie on it, and then when you want to, this end here will slide straight in, as so, and that's joined up. So as you can see right here, the clip lock on the van, the hose just clips straight in, and there we have one hose hooked up, done. And then we slide another hose on, and it's done. It's that simple. And then to chuck it all away, it's basically slide them straight back in this tube, put the lid on, and you're ready to go. I think that is a must-have when it comes to grey water hoses, and it makes life so easy. There's less stuffing around, less smell. And this stuff's light too. You will notice if you buy this, it's really light.
And as to the fact if it perishes in 12 months, it's only $15 a roll to replace.
Well, these are a year and a half old now.
And they're still
like
flexible.
New. If this was the old ones, we'd be on our second ones by now, and that's 120, 130 bucks later.
And really quickly on that note, the amount of times I've accidentally trod on these and they just bounce
back.
Straight back.
Whereas the other stuff crushes.
So this is pretty hardy.
So benefits to this is it's cheaper, it's lighter, and it seems to spring back, and I can't argue with cheaper. That's the main thing. But anyway, moving right along. All right, number 3 is leveling ramps and chocks. When we first started, we thought these were overrated and we didn't need them, and blah blah blah.
Turns out we were wrong.
Turns out we were wrong. We used to stuff around trying to find level ground and trying to find things to run the wheel up on, and look, it was a pain in the ass. It might be right if you're just ducking away for the weekend or something, but when you're doing it day in, day out, these are, I forget what they are, 40, 50, 60 something bucks, I don't know. I'll get them to put a picture in here. But everywhere sells them, BCF, super cheap, Autobarn, they all sell them. There's yellow, there's all different colors of them. Who cares what brand they are? But basically, I put one sideways in case you haven't seen them before. So you've got your different levels of height. So we put them behind the wheel, in front of the wheel. It doesn't really matter depending which way we're going. But you just sort of aim watches at the door, watches the level on the UHF, and I'll just keep backing up or going forward until she says stop. And then they come with these awesome little chocks.
That way.
They go that way.
Other way.
That way. Yep. And they lock into the teeth on here. And then the wheel will sit against it and you can't go anywhere. And then we also use these chocks just for chocks. Like right now we've got no leveling ramps under the van. So we'll just slide them straight in the side, and they're our chocks. We used to use the yellow, like I think they're $15 or $20 yellow plastic chocks, but basically they're weak as piss. You probably shouldn't drive over them like we always do. We forget they're there and go to leave, and we've crushed more than we can imagine.
These little things are indestructible.
As you can see, they're fully solid. Like we've driven over them, they've never broken.
No.
And it saves carrying these chocks and another set of chocks. It sort of, it defeats the purpose in trying to save room and weight if you're going to start carrying multiple things. Whereas these serve the purpose as a chock without the ramps, and a chock. They lock in and they're a chock with the ramps. As for how many you need, single axle, we have 2. That way you got one each side if you need to lift the whole van. We've only ever had to lift one side or the other. But you know, if you got a dual axle, you might want to carry 4 to lift the whole van up in case you're on a bit of a hill. You want to lift the back of the van right up. But if you got to keep in mind, if you do have a dual axle, you need to buy dual axle leveling ramps, or you have to cut these, because you've got to remember this has got to fit between the two wheels. So if you've got a dual axle, you can have a set of these, and you then have to have a set of dual axle ones, or you buy a set of these and then cut them. You might get them cheap off Facebook and just hack them up.
Yeah.
But I think they're a must-have. It's not a necessity, but it makes life so much easier just to go, oh, the van's on level, grab your own ramps out rather than stuffing around, moving again, trying to find level ground.
Yeah, and a lot of people tell you can drive up on timbers or, you know, different things like that.
You just got to keep in mind when you're running up onto stuff of your tyres, like these are free with your leveling ramps. Yeah. You run up on something and wreck a tyre, you know, thinking it'll be fine, and you wreck a tyre, well, that's you're up for hundreds then. So you got to keep that sort of stuff in mind.
And these are stable. It's what they're designed to do. They're not heavy. They're not overly big. Like, you end for end them, and they really don't take up much of a footprint.
And they're dual purpose, which I'll go into in a later topic, but they are dual purpose. But moving right along. All right. Hey, look, it's back. So, jockey wheel seats. We haven't brought one yet. We've been meaning to buy one forever. Yeah. Everywhere sells them. They're usually a little yellow square thing, yay big, with the concave for your jockey wheel to sit in. Like I said, we've been meaning to buy one for a bloody long time. Every time we need one, we go like, yeah, we're gonna buy it, we're gonna buy it, and then we forget about it by the time we don't need it anymore.
It's one of those things that keeps slipping our mind until we need it.
So we've been in places that's muddy or sandy or rocky, and your jockey wheel keeps sinking as you're lifting it off the car, and it is a pain in the ass. That's why I've got this here, and I said these are dual purpose. So I have had to sit the jockey wheel on these leveling ramps numerous times and use this as a seat. The worst part of using this as your jockey wheel seat is it is tapered, so you've just got to watch your jockey wheel doesn't move. But the actual jockey wheel seats are for it. They are far better. The beauty of this is if your jockey wheel's in a low area, like if there's a pothole or something, a hole in the dirt where you're parked, you can sit this under, and that will space your jockey wheel off the ground, which we've had to use it for ours because our jockey wheel only just lifts off the Jeep because the Jeep's so high. So this has spaced up and allowed us to lift it off the van, lift it off the Jeep. But I think that's a good little hack, is have something that jockey wheel can't sink in the ground, something to put under it. Yeah. I've had people say you can use max tracks and all that sort of stuff, but a $300 max track and you put your jockey wheel through it, that's a big consequence, whereas a $20 jockey wheel seat makes life easier and could save you money in the long run. Yeah. But that's just a short, quick one, but it does make life easier.
Yeah, and saves a lot of frustration.
Yes. Moving right along. All right, leaving the ramp here for now, showing the third use for your leveling ramp. And this is what we used until we rectified the problem. So, our stabilizer legs. Now, as you can see here, we've had to put packers underneath our stabilizer legs. We've used just bits of wood from Bunnings that we've cut to length, and we carry about 6 or 8 of them, just for when the legs don't quite reach the ground because you've used your leveling ramps, or there's a low spot where that leg is and it doesn't quite reach the ground, so we can chuck a timber under there and that sort of thing. Before we got the timbers, we used these. So we've got the sand leveling legs. They got the big foot on the bottom which sit on here great, but the back one hasn't got one and it still sits on here great. Yes. If we need to pack any more than like the 2 timbers which we have under there now, I'll still resort to these because it's such a big footprint and can never move once it's on it. Yeah. So it sort of makes these not dual purpose but tri-purpose. Tri-purpose. So there's 3 purposes we use these for.
And the benefit with these, with your packing, rather than like us carrying extra things, it gives you the 3 different levels of height. Yeah,
well you can put your leveling leg on there, your stabilizer on there, or on there.
So it gives you 3 different levels for packing purposes.
And like I said, we used these for years, all the way up until we got those timbers. The only reason I ended up buying the timbers is that we needed to space the legs, but these were under the wheels. Yeah. So we couldn't use these under the stabilizer legs. So like I said, those bits of timber were like, I think they're $3 or $4 a meter at Bunnings, and then I just cut them into 250mm lengths, and it worked perfect. And they just grab 1 or 2 out, and we use them for a few other things as well. But basically you need chocks for your leveling legs. If you're planning on going anywhere that's not in a caravan park, you will encounter places that your legs don't reach the ground. There are brand new vans that their legs are pretty well maxed out by the time they hit the ground.
Yeah.
Because there's only a couple of different lengths in them. So, you know, they work fine if you're on dead level ground. As soon as you've got a low spot or something, most of them will bottom out and you'll come unstuck.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good little hack and makes things dual purpose, tri-purpose, is carrying things that can do more than one job. That way you're not carrying a thing for every single job and start wondering why your weights are so high and you cost so much buying all these different things. But anyway, yeah, so there's the third purpose for your leveling ramps, and carry a couple of bits of timber in case you're using these.
Yep.
We'll keep moving along. All right, now we're on to power leads. Now, power lead is basically exactly like your water hoses. We carry two. This one's, I think, 35 meters long, and this one's like 10 meters. We use the 10 meter probably more than a, yeah, righto. We use the 10 meter more than we use the long one, but we have had to use the long one. Now, I know a lot of people out there are going to say, oh, you don't need power nowadays and all that sort of stuff, and that's true. Like we probably plug into power once a year, twice a year when we want toast, because we haven't got an inverter yet that runs our toaster.
And Ray can't go forever without
No, you've got to have your toast, right? But you know, worst case scenarios, and you do need to plug into power because you've had days or weeks of shit weather and you're just not rejuvenating.
Or can I just say, if you end up at a caravan park because there's no other choice and
you're paying for it, you want
to plug in because you're using it, you're paying for it anyway.
Yeah. And for those people that do have to plug in all the time.
Yes.
So even a lot of showgrounds, you won't always be able to park near the power. Sometimes the power is quite a ways away. So that's where the big long lead will come in handy. But most van parks, you only need a short lead. So you don't want to be running out a 30 meter bloody lead to plug in 2 meters away, if you know what I mean. Like, it's
definitely been a few instances where we see people, they've got the lead
just like the grey water hose, all coiled up. And it just looks like, it looks messy, and it is just a pain in the ass for the person doing it, because you're unrolling this big ass lead and then you got to roll it all back up. Yeah. Hence the short lead. The short lead we use all the time if we need power. Even if you run the short lead, you might run the big lead from the power source to your van, and then you run the short one from the van to your car, because a lot of people you see running 2 leads from a power box, one to the van, one to the car, whereas you don't have to do that. You can just run one from the van to your car, power source to your van. Yep. It's just sort of, it's not an expensive thing, and it can make life so much easier. And just, its main thing is making things less of a pain in the ass, so you don't get to camp and go, oh, I've got to do this, oh, I've got to do that. And
it's eliminating that frustration, like, because sometimes traveling on the road and finding a camp and setting up camp and stuff, it can be very frustrating. So if this sort of stuff can just be a little bit easier, you know, there's less frustration at the camp, and everyone's going to have a better time if things are quick and easy. That's it, quick and easy, and it keeps everything light and cheerful.
And keeping in mind 15 amp. You must have 15 amp where it plugs into your caravan. I've spoken to a lot of people that haven't even used their leads because, you know, they've got big lithium systems now. And you'll go in and buy a big lead and then they've only got a 10 amp end on them. Yeah. And just remembering that a 15 amp female will plug onto a 10 or 15 amp male.
Yes.
A 15 amp male will only plug into a 15 amp socket. You got to remember that. Yeah. But we'll move right along. All right, so everyone knows what this is. This is what, if you use a power tool to do your stabilizer legs, this is what you should be using. Now this is a drill. You can see that it's not a rattle gun, right? People are wondering why they go through so many stabilizer legs. Like I said that weird. Yeah. We've met a lot of people that go, oh, I only get like 12 months out of my stabilizer legs. It's because they're using rattle guns, like screw guns and this sort of thing. They are so aggressive. Like inside your leveling leg, stabilizer leg, is just a little shear pin. Now the constant daka 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 of a rattle gun will break that shear pin, and then your leg's rubbish. They're you know, most of these companies now, one battery does all. So go in, buy a drill, because we can literally wind our legs down, and I can even lift our van to an extent with this, whereas you can't do that with a rattle gun because you will destroy your legs.
And can I just add too, so like we've obviously been using, not this exact drill, but you know, a drill like this for our 5 years on the road, and we've not damaged
haven't wrecked one leg. We still have the legs on our van that came on our van.
With the van when it came out in 2008.
If you need to lift your van a considerable amount, use your handle. Don't use your drill. You'll wreck your drill. But just don't use rattle guns. They destroy legs. You gotta use your ears. You sit there and listen to when it goes down. You hear the ducka ducka ducka. It hurts your ears. Like, you're gonna know that's hurting your legs. Whereas that there, done. And put it in low range, and up goes your van. You can hear that doesn't hurt. Whereas if that was a rattle gun, that's just banging. It's destroying your legs, and it's going to save you money in the long run. It's just, that's all I can say. It hurts. You hear so many. It's probably like 95% of people use rattle guns, and like 5% use drills.
Yeah. Use
a drill, save yourself money in the long run. You might have to go buy a drill if you haven't got one. But like, what are these? 120 bucks for the drill battery charger kit.
Yeah. And can I just say, a drill, there's so many purposes you can use a drill for.
Yeah, you use the drill for more stuff.
Like,
you can use the drill as your screw gun. Like, if you use the screw gun for a screw gun's purpose, you can use a drill for that. I use this as a screw gun all the time.
So it's not a tool that you got to have only to put your legs down, you know. Like,
this is equally used as a tool as it is for the stabilizer legs. So you just
another multi-purpose dual purpose tool.
Save yourself the money in the long run. You got 120 bucks as opposed to 400 bucks for a set of new legs. Like, it's not even comparable. And yeah, you can see right here how smooth they are doing it. Right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just straight up, straight down. But yeah, so get a drill. Don't use a rattle gun or a screw gun, because you're just costing yourself money. Alright, moving along. Alright, now we'll talk solar. Not solar systems. I'm not going to try and tell you how to do your DC system, nothing to do with that. But keeping your solar panels clean. Spoken to so many people that think, oh yep, I get up every month or every 2 months and clean my panels, which is all well and good. But that, you might be cleaning up a big piece of bird shit that's been there since the day after you washed your panels last time. So basically, clean them as much as possible, but check them even more. So, you know, if you can get up there once a week and check them, that'd be awesome. That's perfect. It is a considerable difference. Like, I've got an external amp meter just on our solar panels in our van, so we can, like, we know at what time of day what our solar should be putting in. So if we see that's down a few amps, so it can be down 10 amps because of a piece of bird shit.
Yeah, or even just like in places where it's a bit drier and dustier, you've got like a layer of dust across all of your panels, like that makes
trees.
a difference.
If there's heaps of trees, you might end up with like leaves stuck up there from dew. So basically, I'll really quickly go into a solar panel. So the way a solar panel is wired is like set up is in series. So if you block a cell on a solar panel with dust or a bit of dirt, mud, bird shit, whatever, leaves, that solar panel is no longer active. So even dust laying on top of that glass causes a shadow inside the panel. So even dust on it will affect your output. So basically, keep them clean, get up there once a week, and you know, everyone's got GoPros now. Everyone's got drones. You can get your GoPro on your stick, go outside, hold it up in the air, like this, and do a quick film of your panel and bring it down, watch it and go, oh shit, they're dirty. Get your drone out, fly it over your van. You know, there's so many ways of doing it now without actually getting up there. To clean them, I use just a cheap household broom from Bunnings. Try and find the softest bristled one possible.
Soft bristle. Which also dual purposes as the van that we, the broom that we use inside the van as well.
Make sure it's clean, so wash the broom before you use it on your solar panels. For getting up there, like, we're lucky, we can back the Jeep up to the side of the van with the roof down. I can reach the top of the van, and you can get those telescopic ladders now. They take up no room, they're nice and light.
Yeah, they're all usually aluminium as well. So
you know, there's people out there that their panels are absolutely filthy, and they think that solar panels are stuffed because they're only putting in 2 or 3 amps, and it's not. It's just the fact that they've never cleaned them.
Yeah, so you might actually save yourself a few $100s
by cleaning your solar panels
them instead of getting them replaced.
Yeah, like that's a must do, considering everything runs off the power in your van and it gets charged by your solar, so it's a crucial part of it.
It's very important.
But moving right along. All right, so with water consumption, our pump is a 13 litre a minute pump, which is pretty standard. We used to run a 2.4, but the littler the pump you go, the noisier they are, and some of them are bloody noisy. And
no matter what you do.
No matter what you do to them, like you can put them. I've made boxes full of foam and everything, and they're still just so noisy. So we've gone back to the 13 litre a minute pump.
Yeah.
But as you can see here, after the pump, I've cut the John Guest line and put in a John Guest tap. Now what that does is I got Em inside, turned the shower on, and then I just started cutting that flow until the pump was still consistently running, not like brr, 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 like not pulsing, but continuously running, which cut us down to about 2.8 litres a minute, I think it was.
It's something along those
So
lines.
what that means is basically over that minute period, we're saving 10 litres of water.
Yeah.
So if you can imagine your shower, now quickly, it does not change the shower head. As you can see here, the shower head still flows perfect. Like you can still have a beautiful shower. It just means you can have a 3 or 4 times longer shower than you would if your pump wasn't restricted. It draws a slight bit more amps because the pump is under so much load. Longevity, the pump still works fine, like nothing's affected in that side of things. All we're doing is getting an extra week out of our tanks compared to what we did before.
Yeah.
Because you can imagine if you had a 2-minute shower, you'd be using 26 litres of water. Now if we have a 2-minute shower, we're using 5 litres of water.
About 5 to 6 litres of water.
That is a
huge
huge difference. You know, even if you're filling up every 2 or 3 days, you can still use, instead of having a really quick on-off shower, you can have normal household showers. Still fill up every few days if you want, but if you're going somewhere off-grid for a long time, it really extends how long that you can get out of your water tanks.
Well, water is not the thing that's going to stop your off-grid trip.
Most off-grid now, like we're restricted by our cassette and our toilet if it's full off-grid. Like our water is nothing anymore. Like we can get 2 weeks out of our water tanks. So, you know, it just changes things drastically for I think the tap's like $15.
Yeah.
And you don't have to change a pump. You just literally put a tap in, cut the flow, and away you go. I rhymed then, didn't even know it.
He's a
See
poet,
that?
they didn't even know
Look
it.
at that. All right, we'll keep moving along. Now awnings, so you can buy so many different ropes and straps and pegs and all that stuff to tie your awning down. So all we use is, if we have to tie it down, I've got 2 dog collars that we got from the reject shop, a couple of ropes I think we got from Bunnings.
Yeah, just your normal, like the tie down rope.
Yep,
things.
and some pegs that Dad made for our marquee 50 years ago. Like that's all we've got if we want to tie it down. I think we've tied it down twice in 4 years,
Probably.
5 years. 5 years now. I think we've pegged it down twice. The reason I get away with that, don't get me wrong, before I worked this thing out that I'm about to show you, it has blown over the roof, it has blown off the van, but hey, it's still here, it still works.
Surprisingly.
But then I found that you can do this. Now I call this wind mode. I'll show Dad this, and I don't think he's pegged his awning down since, and we haven't either.
We've actually shown quite a few people who were quite blown away by this too.
Yeah. So your awning doesn't come out as far. You lose about, I think it's about 500 mil of awning, but you don't have to tie it down. Like we've had this thing in, like even here was like 60 km winds the other day, and it literally can't go anywhere. So as you can see, you roll the awning out. You don't even have to put your awning up on the base legs. You just slide your, what would you call them, stays up to the top. Don't tighten the grub screw. Roll the awning back in until it bottoms out against that. Now, if you can't see how this is working, pause it and have a look. Because this can no longer contract. Because the way they normally fail is the your stays on the side slide on those grub screws, which then contracts and it slides in, and your awning blows up over your roof and does a whole lot of damage.
Gets like a big parachute-y effect.
Yeah. Whereas by doing this, your stays can no longer contract, which means the awning stays taut. It can never go slack. It can never start slapping around. You can tighten it right up with the drum with your hand, and that's it. You don't have to tie it down, because where's it going to go? Right? And then to fold it up, all you do is release your awning, roll it back out, your stays will drop to the bottom, and roll it in. Like, that's it. I call that wind mode. It takes 2 seconds to set up, 2 seconds to pack up, and you don't have to worry about ropes or anything. It can't go anywhere.
Yeah, so it saves you time, and it also eliminates a little bit of stress if the weather does, you know, the wind does pick up a little bit. You don't have to be worried about racing outside, trying to tie it down. Or even if you've got straps, the ropes on them, and it gets real windy, you don't have to run outside and check that they're still there or haven't come loose or any of that sort of stuff, because they've been banging around, they'll come loose. You don't have to check none of that. You can lay in bed and just not stress at all. Not even worry about it.
I just think that was the best thing we ever found with our awning. Like, it is awesome. I love it. As soon as we pull up, that's what I do. And
it's still great if it happens to be rainy and windy, because it still protects you a little bit on the outside for you to get outside of your caravan and so on.
Yeah.
And like I said, the wind, you don't need to worry about the wind.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it. But yeah, so I just think that makes it so much easier to do, and it makes. Before we found that, we actually never used that awning much.
If we pulled up and it was like the slightest little bit windy, we just wouldn't set it up.
We just wouldn't set it up, because I hate getting ropes out and pegs out and pegging it in for one night. It's just pointless. Whereas,
and also, like, you know, in the dark, if you don't have something on your ropes, you can trip over your ropes and
which
pegs,
I do a lot.
Especially for Ray, but even like normal people, we can trip over it. Just, you know, simple. You forget they're there. You go outside without your torch on. You're just a little bit complacent because it's dark. You're tired. You can trip over them. Other people can trip over them.
Yeah. It
just takes that away too.
It makes you want to use it more, makes it easier, safer, everything else.
Yeah.
Alright, so that wraps up our 10 tips, tricks, hacks, must-haves of caravanning. I just wanted to basically make things cheaper, easier, more stress-free, and just take up lighter, takes up less room.
Yeah.
You know, the list can go on, but I'm not. So don't forget to like the video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel, do all that good stuff. Any comments, leave them below. Any questions, throw them through. And we got Messenger, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But like I said, if you want a sticker, don't forget the sticker, and don't forget to get your tickets for Jeep Jamboree 2023. But that'll do it for this one, and we'll see you next week.